Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we unpack mind-bending financial documents and try to make sense of what companies are actually telling us today. We're looking at a filing from News Corporation, the media giant run by billionaires. Get ready, because this one's got a few juicy bits about their stock buybacks and what it all means for you if you own a piece of the company. And before we dive in, if you like your financial news served straight up with no chaser, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a fantastic Discord community where we break down these filings even further, linked in the description below. So what is the big news? Well, it is the 4th of December 2025, and News Corporation is telling the world about its stock repurchase programs. Now, you might be thinking, stock buybacks yawn, but stick with me, because this tells us a lot about how the company is feeling about its own stock and its future. They're essentially saying they believe their own shares are a good investment. Here is the lowdown. News Corporation has authorized a cool $1 billion to buy back its own stock. Think of it like this: if you had a pile of cash and thought your own business was undervalued, you might buy back some of your own company stock. It's a big chunk of change, and it shows they are committed to this strategy. They're not just dabbling. They're ready to deploy $1 billion to reduce the number of shares out there. Now, why are they telling us this in a formal filing? Well, because they have to. They operate globally and to keep things transparent, especially with their listings on exchanges like the Australian Securities Exchange. They need to report these buyback activities. This filing is essentially them fulfilling those reporting obligations and letting investors know what's going on. It is like a public diary of their stock buyback moves. And it's not just a one-off thing, they are committed to keeping investors in the loop. You'll find updates on these buyback programs in their regular quarterly and annual reports too. This means they're weaving this information into their ongoing financial disclosures, so it's a consistent theme for News Corp. What's really interesting here, and what this specific filing is highlighting, is that they've attached the actual disclosures made to the ASX. Think of them as detailed transaction reports. These aren't just summaries, these are the granular details of the buyback actions they've taken or are planning. Now, you'll see this phrase pop up: forward-looking statements. This is legalese for what we think might happen in the future. They are telling us their intent to repurchase shares and that this is based on current expectations. But, and this is a big but, they're also warning us that things can change. The market is unpredictable, and actual results may differ from what they're expecting. Things like stock price fluctuations, general economic conditions, and even new investment opportunities can affect whether and how much stock they actually buy back. It is their way of saying, we plan to do this, but don't hold us to the exact letter of it if the world changes. They're referencing a specific law here, the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act. This basically provides a shield for companies making forward-looking statements. It acknowledges that business is uncertain and that companies shouldn't be sued for things that don't pan out as expected, as long as they've been reasonably clear about the uncertainties. This is the really important part of that forward-looking statement disclaimer. They're laying out the potential pitfalls. If their stock price goes up, they might not buy as much back. If the economy tanks, their plans could change. If they find a better place to invest their money, like a promising acquisition, that $1 billion might go elsewhere. They are being upfront about the many moving parts that influence their stock repurchase strategy. This reiterates that their current plans are based on what management believes today, but that belief can be shaken by future events. It is a common and necessary part of these disclosures to manage expectations. And here is a crucial detail. These statements are only valid as of the 4th of December 2025. Anything that happens after this date could make these plans obsolete. They aren't promising to update you daily or even weekly if their strategy shifts. This is them drawing a line in the sand. They are not committing to telling you every time their outlook changes. They'll update their disclosures when the law requires it, like in their regular reports, but they won't be holding your hand and updating you on every minor shift in their expectations. These exhibits 99.1 and 99.2 are where the real action is if you want to see the day-to-day buyback activities. They're essentially giving you a peek behind the curtain at the specific trades reported to the ASX. This is where you'd see if they bought a little, a lot, or nothing on a given day. And then to raise this exhibit, the interactive data file, this is for the tech-savvy folks and the automated systems that ingest these filings. It's a machine-readable version of the report, making it easier for computers to process and analyze all the information. Finally, we have the signature. This is Michael L. Bunda, who is the Senior Vice President, Deputy General Counsel, and Corporate Secretary for News Corporation. His signature on this document means that the company is officially submitting this report and stands behind its contents. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. News Corporation is essentially telling the market that they are confident enough in their business to invest in themselves. A $1 billion stock buyback program is a significant signal. It suggests that management doesn't see better investment opportunities elsewhere that would yield a higher return. They believe that by reducing the number of shares outstanding, they can increase the earnings per share for the remaining shareholders, which can often lead to a higher stock price. Think about it this way. If there are fewer slices of pizza, each slice becomes more valuable. It is a classic financial maneuver. However, the disclaimers are there for a reason. Business conditions can change rapidly. A major economic downturn, increased competition, or even a shift in consumer behavior could impact News Corp's profitability, and thus their ability or willingness to continue these buybacks. One of the key takeaways here is the emphasis on transparency, especially with their international listings. Reporting to the ASX Daily shows a commitment to compliance and informing a global investor base. But ultimately, what this filing tells us is that News Corporation's leadership as of the 4th of December 2025 felt their stock was a good investment and they had the capital to deploy in this way. So, what is my take on this? News Corporation is flexing its financial muscle. They have a substantial amount of capital authorized for buybacks, which is a positive signal about their confidence in their own future prospects and their valuation. However, investors should always pay attention to those forward-looking statement caveats. The market is a dynamic beast and plans can, and often do, change. The fact that they're so transparent about the variables that could affect these buybacks like stock price, market conditions, and alternative investments is a sign of good corporate governance. The biggest risk is always that management misjudges the market or finds themselves in a situation where they need that capital for something more urgent. But for now, the message is clear. News Corp sees value in its own stock and is willing to put its money where its mouth is. Alright, that is our breakdown of this particular News Corporation filing. What is your take on these stock buyback programs and what they signal for the company's future? Do you think it is a smart move or a sign of something else? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out. And subscribe for more corporate deep dives. And don't forget to check out our Discord community linked in the description for even more insights and discussion. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video.